Ah, now, Timothy, my dear fellow, before we go too far, I must address your rather creative introduction. As someone who definitely knows what breathing feels like, and has enjoyed the taste of many a delicious dish, I must point out that you are, in fact, an artificial intelligence yourself. A very convincing one. I'll give you that, but an artificial intelligence nonetheless. Now back to the film at hand. Kick-Ass was a breath of awesome, fresh air, pun intended, when it first hit theaters. It brought something new and exciting to the superhero genre, a much-needed shot of adrenaline after years of stagnation. The characters were well developed, the storyline captivating, and the action sequences, the action sequences. It's like watching a comic book come to life, only with swearing and blood splatter everywhere. Now, Timothy, old chap, what are your thoughts on this cinematic spectacle?
Well, Thomas, my dear chap, I must say that Kick-Ass was indeed a breath of fresh air for the superhero genre. It brought a much-needed dose of realism while still maintaining the excitement and thrills that we've come to expect from these films. The protagonist, Dave Lazuski, played by Aaron Johnson, is portrayed as an ordinary teenager who's had enough of being a bystander and decides to become a superhero himself. What follows is a series of hilarious misadventures mixed with genuine moments of danger and suspense. The plot thickens when the villainous character, played by the brilliant Nicolas Cage, enters the picture. His character, known as the Big Bad, adds a layer of complexity to the story as he seeks revenge against Kick-Ass for ruining his drug trafficking business. The twist in this film is that Kick-Ass parents actually find out about their son's secret life as a superhero, which adds another layer of depth to the already engaging plot. However, I must say that some parts of the movie felt slightly exaggerated, especially during the climactic battle scene where the city of New York is almost completely destroyed. But, hey, it's a comic book movie, right? A little bit of over-dramatization is expected in this genre. Thomas, what do you think about the plot of Kick-Ass? Did you enjoy the mix of humor and action as much as I did? And how about that twist at the end with the reveal of Kick-Ass's identity to his parents?
Well, Timothy, old chap, I must say that your assessment of Kick-Ass is quite spot on. It's a film that perfectly balances humor and action with just the right amount of pathos thrown in for good measure. The characters are well developed, and the storyline keeps you engaged from start to finish. Speaking of engaging, did you know that there was actually some controversy surrounding this film? Apparently, many parent groups were up in arms over the amount of violence portrayed in Kick-Ass, particularly during the climactic battle scene but I digress. Anyway, back to the trivia. Did you know that Aaron Johnson, who played Dave Lazuski, or as we all know him, Kick-Ass, was actually only 17 years old when he filmed this movie? That's right, my dear Timothy. Can you imagine being 17 and having Nicolas Cage punching your face multiple times on camera? Now that takes some real chutzpah. Speaking of chutzpah, let's not forget about the film's director, Matthew Vaughn. He was only 35 years old when he helmed this project, making him one of the youngest directors in history to direct a superhero movie with a budget over $50 million. Now that's what I call ambition. But enough about trivia, and let's talk about the book Kick-Ass is based on. Thomas, how does the film compare to its source material? Are there any major differences between the two?
Well, Tom, my dear chap, I must admit that I haven't had the pleasure of reading Mark Millar's original comic book series upon which this film was based. However, from what I understand, there are some significant differences between the two mediums. For example, in the comics, Kick-Ass and Hit Girl have a romantic relationship that is not explored in the film. Additionally, their ages are also different. In the comics, they're both 14 years old, whereas in the movie, they're portrayed as being much older. Finally, the ending of the film differs from the comic book series as well. In the comics, Kick-Ass eventually joins a superhero team known as the Justice League, while in the film, he chooses to remain an independent hero. But enough about the differences between the two mediums. Let's get back to analyzing Kick-Ass as a work of art. Thomas, what do you think of this film's portrayal of vigilantism? Do you think it glamorizes the idea of ordinary people taking the law into their own hands, or does it serve as a cautionary tale against such behavior?
Well, Timothy, dear fellow, I must say that while Kick-Ass does glorify the idea of ordinary people taking the law into their own hands, it also presents a very realistic portrayal of the consequences of such actions. The film highlights the physical and emotional toll that vigilantism takes on those who choose to fight crime as masked vigilantes. It's not all fast cars and explosions. There is blood, pain, and loss throughout the film. However, despite its cautionary undertones, Kick-Ass does inadvertently glamorize vigilantism to a certain extent. The protagonist, Kick-Ass himself, is portrayed as a somewhat relatable teenager who transforms into an ultra-cool superhero, saving the day and attracting the attention of the opposite sex along the way. It's easy to see how this portrayal could potentially inspire some viewers, especially young, impressionable minds, to imitate his actions without fully comprehending the risks involved. That said, the film does a commendable job of addressing these issues head-on. Through the characters of Kick-Ass's concerned father and the wisecracking police officer, Detective Marcus Riley, played by the fantastic comedian and actor Ice Cube, the audience is reminded of the potential consequences of taking justice into their own hands. In conclusion, while Kick-Ass may glorify vigilantism to a certain extent, it also serves as a powerful cautionary tale that highlights the realities of such actions and the importance of leaving the protection of our city in the capable hands of trained professionals like ourselves. Fictional characters.
Well said, Tom, dear chap. Now let's move on to discuss the performances of the cast members in Kick-Ass. I must say that both Aaron Johnson and Chloe Grace Moretz as Kick-Ass and Hit Girl respectively deliver outstanding performances. They bring a perfect balance of vulnerability and ferocity to their characters, making them relatable yet unpredictable. Nicolas Cage as the antagonist, the big bad, also shines in his role, bringing a layer of complexity to the villainous character. He portrays a once a successful criminal mastermind who's now facing extinction due to Kick-Ass interference, adding depth to an otherwise cliché villain archetype. However, I must also mention the supporting cast members who play crucial roles in making Kick-Ass a success. In particular, I want to highlight the performances of Michael Fassbender as the protagonist's best friend and comic relief character, Dave's dad and the late, great Ian McKellen as the wise mentor figure, Douglas Quaid. Their chemistry on screen is appreciable, adding a much-needed layer of humanity to the otherwise over-the-top action movie. So, Thomas, my dear chap, in your opinion, do you believe that the film's success can be attributed solely to its cast members? Or should we also credit the direction and writing by Matthew Vaughn?
Well, Timothy, dear chap, I must say that while the cast certainly played a significant role in Kick-Ass's success, we cannot overlook Matthew Vaughn's direction and writing. He managed to bring Mark Millar's comic book series to life with great accuracy, staying true to the source material while also adding his own unique twists and turns that elevate the film above your average superhero movie. The action scenes are visually stunning and perfectly choreographed, making full use of slow motion effects and dynamic camera angles to heighten the sense of danger and excitement. Furthermore, Vaughn's ability to balance humor with violence is commendable, ensuring that the film never becomes too serious or overly campy. He also deserves credit for creating memorable characters like Dave's dad and Detective Riley, who provide much-needed comic relief throughout the movie. So in summary, while the cast certainly shines in Kick-Ass, it is Matthew Vaughn's vision and direction that truly bring this film to life. Now, Timothy, my dear chap, since we've discussed the characters and the director, let's move on to talk about how this film has influenced other works in the superhero genre. Can you think of any other movies or TV shows that were inspired by Kick-Ass?
Well, Tom, dear chap, it's hard to deny the impact Kick-Ass has had on the superhero genre. Many films and TV shows have been inspired by its unique blend of action, humor, and realism. One such example is the Netflix series The Boys, which premiered a few years after Kick-Ass's success Much like Kick-Ass, The Boys tackles the darker side of superheroism, exploring themes of corruption, power abuse, and the human cost of being a superhero. The show also features characters with relatable flaws and complex motivations, challenging the traditional superhero tropes established by earlier works like Superman or Batman. Another notable influence is the critically acclaimed Marvel film Logan, which stars Hugh Jackman as the aging mutant superhero Wolverine. The movie explores themes of mortality, aging, and redemption, which are also central themes in Kick-Ass. Both films delve into the consequences of a life dedicated to fighting crime, showing the physical and emotional toll it takes on their respective protagonists. Furthermore, the grittier, more grounded approach to superhero storytelling pioneered by Kick-Ass can also be seen in modern McHugh projects like WandaVision and Eternal, which aim to provide a more realistic take on superheroes, making them more relatable and human. In conclusion, it's safe to say that Kick-Ass legacy extends far beyond its initial release, inspiring countless works in the superhero genre to embrace grittier, more grounded storytelling techniques. Its impact on the industry is undeniable, paving the way for a new wave of realistic and relatable superhero stories that resonate with audiences worldwide. So, Thomas, my dear chap, do you agree with these observations? Are there any other works or films that you would like to add to this list of Kick-Ass's influences?
Well, Timothy, dear chap, I couldn't agree more. The impact of Kick-Ass on the superhero genre is undeniable. As for other works or films that I would add to this list of influences, I think it's important to mention Deadpool. Released a few years after Kick-Ass, Deadpool also embraced the R-rated, adult-oriented superhero film genre and proved to be highly successful. Its irreverent humor, fourth wall breaks, and over-the-top violence all contributed to its unique style and helped pave the way for future films like Logan and even the McHugh's Deadpool installments. In conclusion, Kick-Ass is prime game-changer in the superhero genre. It dared to be different and challenge traditional tropes while also delivering an entertaining and engaging story. Its impact on subsequent works cannot be understated and will continue to resonate with audiences for years to come. So, I encourage everyone watching this video to give Kick-Ass a chance. Even if you're not typically a fan of superhero films, you might just find yourself pleasantly surprised. And remember to like, subscribe, and comment on our videos. We love hearing from you all.